the situation that just happened with Juwan Howard, Michigan head basketball coach, had a little bit of a dust up. I think it's a nice way to put it, with the Wisconsin coaching staff, an assistant coach in particular. So for those that don't know, essentially what was going on in the game, it was a highly contested game towards the end. And then, at the end of it, Wisconsin got up by double digits. They take out their starters, but Michigan keeps their starters in and they're full court pressing. So from there, Wisconsin passed the ball, they're about to get a 10-second call. It's probably like 15 seconds left in the game. Anyways, Wisconsin calls a timeout. Juwan Howard's pretty upset with that. So game ends. The Wisconsin coach comes by. I think they exchange words, but then he grabs his arm. Juwan doesn't see this, the head coach grabbing his arm. He just knows somebody grabs him. And then from there, I believe it got a little bit of a skirmish between all the parties. Then that's when the assistant coach comes into play for Wisconsin. And then that's where you see my man Juwan Howard decide to choose violence, in the literal sense. And that's where you see.
It looked like he was trying to make a punch, though, to be honest.
No, it wasn't a punch. It was a mush. It was a mush. It wasn't a punch.
That's what he was trying to do.
Yeah, it was a mush.
Someone pushed him away, or he got off balance, and then he closed his fist after the fact, which made people maybe think punch.
Think there was a punch, but he just mushed him. He mushed his face. That's what it was. It was one of those. The way it reminded me of in times where I might have lost my temper or two, can't confirm nor deny. But, you're like, man, I want to spill on you. But if I ain't going to spill, I'm just going to mush you. Just ultimate disrespect. Get out of here, That's kind of how I viewed it. But it was just crazy because you don't expect, your coaches to really act like that in those situations. We've seen coaches get, heated before. Obviously, think about in the NFL, going back to, was it Jim Schwartz and I think was it Pete Carroll? When they got into it with the whole, no, it was Harbaugh. It was Jim Schwartz and Harbaugh with the smack on the back and how those two guys got, a little testy and stuff. So, we've seen things occur between coaches. I know dating back to me in high school, I had my basketball coach getting a brawl with the other coach. It was crazy. Yeah, but it's those type of things. We've seen build up to it, but never to the point where you're getting the head coach and especially a marquee name like a Juwan Howard putting his hands on another person. You know me, I always talk about I never think that it's cool to resort to violence because I think that you just never know how far that's going to escalate to. And what you may think is rational in terms of a response, another person might think that, you overdid it or vice versa. So, we never take it too lightly, but man, it was just crazy. But then the reaction in terms of seeing the suspension for the rest of the regular season, along with, I think it was a $40,000 fine for Juwan Howard, and then a $10,000 fine for Greg Gard, who is that's Wisconsin's head coach. He was the one that got in the altercation. It was Joe Krabenhoff that got into the altercation with Juwan. But thinking of that, I was just it was a little interested though to see that Wisconsin still, their coach got fined $10K for grabbing the guy's arm essentially, or I guess playing a role in the situation.
I think they just had to. Yeah, he didn't do anything.
Right, but that's my thing. I'm I don't fault him because at the end of the day, my feelings.
Was he grabbing his arm to say something to him? Maybe that was it.
No, because
Howard was just pissed about the timeout stuff.
Right, because Howard had already made it very clear that he was upset about the timeout when it happened, and then when they were passing each other in the handshake line, Greg tried to say something to him. They exchanged some type of words, and then after that, it looks like maybe he was trying to get his attention to say something else. We don't know all that. You know what I mean?
To go though. He was.
Yeah, you could tell he was fired up, bro. He was fired up.
Trying to grab his shirt.
Yeah, he was fired up, bro.
Like that.
Yeah.
So it was only a matter of time, and then once everyone got involved, so that's when he tried to do the whole thing that you were talking about, the mush his face. But then everyone's calling a punch, which it wasn't. I think 5 games. Makes sense. It sounds so much worse. Suspended rest of the regular season. It's only 5 games, and he's going to be back for the Big Ten tournament. And also the playoffs. So, yeah, for entertainment purposes, it was funny, but at the same time, it's not a good look for your program.
It's not, bro. It's definitely not. Now, what did you make of some of the reactions afterward, though, where obviously the Big Ten and some of the people are saying that, hey, man, there's no room for that in this game. There's no room for that in this conference, almost insinuating that his job should be in jeopardy behind this. How do you feel about that?
His job should not be in jeopardy at all.
Yeah.
I would be good with not giving him suspension at all. I would be good with actually. I'd rather see him versus the Wisconsin coach in like a 1v1 boxing match.
Hey, undercard for
Michigan's next game. To be honest with you,
put him on a Jake Paul card, man. Put him on a Jake card.
That's what I'm saying. I'd be more entertained with that.
I ain't gonna. I think Juwan mops him
anymore.
I think Juwan mops him if we're taking bets. That's all I'm gonna say. I think he gets his work off on him. But I don't have an issue. No, put it like this. I wouldn't fire him behind it. I do think you have to suspend him and fine him the way that they did, solely because as players, we are, a lot of us, especially collegiately, man, you come from bad situations. You come from situations where you're used to, always resorting to violence. And just the example that it sets for those guys, man, you saw, even his players, as soon as, Juwan wishes the guy, his players, they like, yo, let's go, it's throwdown time. We about to go, throw these hands. And I was like, I agree, because that's my sentiment always, as an athlete, but it's like you can't always resort to that, because in that setting it was okay, but in another setting that could be the difference between life or death and just all the seriousness with that. But yeah, as a whole, I don't think that you should fire Juwan Howard. I'm cool on that. And then I did see even the overreaction to the point where they're saying, should the handshake line be removed from sports? I'm like, bro, you can't be moving the handshake line. Like, I ain't gonna lie, the handshake line do get active, though. I done definitely shoulder bumped a couple. I done missed some hands on purpose.
That's not in the NFL.
No. In the NFL, you don't have to do that. And I'm always glad because,
you do it with your own team.
NBA, you don't really do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's just college hoops.
It's college,
it's hockey. It's hockey after the
hockey
playoffs.
Big, yeah.
At the end of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think they do regular season, from what I remember at least. It's just at the end.
That's crazy.
I don't think you got to get rid of the handshake line over this. Come on.
I want to say keep the handshake line, man. It ain't the end of the world, but at the same time, don't touch me if we talking. I think that's what we'll start with this for both parties. Whether you're,
the whole firing stuff, that's way too overblown. It's way too overblown. Yeah, give him the 4 or 5 game suspension that he got. Little fine. That's about it. Come on, like he wasn't trying to throw a haymaker. At the same time, you don't want this for your program. It's just that's it.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, if he really wanted to punch that man in the face and then continue to go to work, he very easily could have done that. This is Juwan Howard we're talking about. It wouldn't have been hard. But at the same time, it's like, man, I do take into context the escalation part. I do take into context the guy putting his hand in terms of grabbing him. Now, it wasn't the guy that he put his hands on, but in terms of Greg, the Wisconsin coach touching him, it's like, man, if you know we're testing and we aren't friends, we're not being friendly right now, do not touch me, And that's kind of like the thing that I would, just looking at it as a whole, I would tell him, hey, don't touch that guy while y'all having altercations and having conversation. If you're Juwan Howard, you just got to have more self-control, man. You can't put your hands on people in the mushing variety publicly, okay?
Well, Howard's probably one of the last people I would have even thought to be doing that too. Apparently he was like the most quiet dude back in Michigan days. And even like NBA, he became that staple guy just on the bench, like the veteran behind the scenes.
Absolutely, man.
I never took him for a dude that would like get that pissed off and maybe do something like that.
Hey, man, when you coach it, man,
you just never know. You really never know.